Welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you're here. So, the Tuesday video for this week is going to be more of a brief discussion. And this is a video that I hope is going to sort of be something I can refer back to in the future, because I've had this sort of issue dust up quite a lot as the channel has grown, and I want to just answer it directly. I want to speak about it and just kind of like give you my thoughts on it. So look, I talk about 1911s with authority, let's say, because I'm comfortable with them. I've been working on them for a long time, coming up on 15 years. And I've built them, I've fixed them, not just mine, I've done it semi-professionally. Now, am I saying that to get you to trust what I say more? No, I'm just telling you, like, that's the experience I have, okay? But with that, things start to get weird when I say those things out loud. And you get two things that are incorrect being said. One is that I'm an expert. And then the other is that I'm not an expert. So you have these two extremes that emerge when you start talking about something, where you have some people that think you're an expert, and you have others who want to make sure the whole world knows you're not an expert. And they're very insecure, usually. And so basically, I want to ask this question. Am I an expert? Well, even how you define that. One of my favorite definitions of an expert is somebody who consistently solves complex problems. Am I that? No, I wouldn't call myself an expert at all. So what I want to do is I want to briefly talk through how I view these rankings and whatnot, right? Because even if you say, like, I'm a gunsmith, people get weird. They want a certificate. They want some sort of credentialism, which I reject wholeheartedly. I know there are a lot of people who, if you have that piece of paper, that's all they care about. And the credentialists, I think, are some of the weakest thinking people on the planet. And look, let me tell you, I once had an auto ordnance BKO, and I took it to a gun shop, and they have on the wall there that they have an in-house gunsmith. The guy was probably in his 20s, and he had their certificate, so he should be good, right? He should be an expert, huh? Guess what? He installed, I went in there because I needed them to install a new rear sight on this auto ordnance. The one that I had was crooked. It was literally like twisted, just looked weird. He installed it, not only did he install it backwards, but he dented the piss out of one side of it. He was using a steel punch to install my sight. And when I confronted him about it, I'm like, dude, this looks terrible and it's backwards. You owe me a new rear sight. He stood his ground and was like, nope, I did it right. And basically had his arrogance about his certificate. So look, when people come at me and, they want some sort of certificate, guys, I'm just telling you, I'm not trying to be a jerk here or be combative at all. That's the weakest way to think, because I know so many people. You all know so many people. We all together know a pile of people who have their degrees and their certificates. They run our country. You really think that a certificate, a degree, a diploma, whatever, makes you competent? No. So I reject credentialism. So that's the first thing I want to say in this video. And it's not just for me, it's for others too. I have a guy that works on my truck. He doesn't have some ASE certification. He doesn't have any schooling. That dude's been working on trucks in his backyard for 25 years. He knows, particularly suspension systems. He knows suspension like nobody else I know, and I trust him. He's been working on my vehicles for more than 10 years, and he's an expert. I would call him an expert. He doesn't even have a high school diploma, okay? So I reject credentialism. It's about competence, and this is the same thing when it comes to our arguments. If somebody starts out an argument by saying, well, as a gunsmith of 40 years, that's weakness. That's intellectual weakness. If your argument is true, it should stand on its own 2 feet outside of your credentialism, right? Good ideas are good ideas. It doesn't, look, I've seen some great ideas emerge from really young guys who don't know anything, but it's a good idea, right? So that's the first thing I want to say. I reject credentialism, not just for me, but for others. Good ideas are good ideas. Competence is competence. The second thing I want to say is the way I view sort of ranking in the gunsmith hierarchy, and this is just my own personal way to understand this whole thing, is I've basically broken it up into 3 tiers. 3 tiers of gunsmith, and use a different word. People even get weird about titles. Again, it's weakness, guys. This is weakness. Credentialism, elitism, gatekeeping, getting obsessed with titles. I reject it. I hate it. The 3 tiers, in the way I think of this, is you have tier 1 of maybe just gunsmith, gun guy, whatever word makes you comfortable. And that's basically somebody, and let's use the 1911 as an example, because that's kind of what we're talking about. It's somebody who kind of knows how to take the gun apart, knows how the gun works, knows how to do basic service on the pistol, knows how to inspect things, and, basic level competence, okay? Level 2, I would say, is where you get into, like, diagnosis of deeper issues, parts fitting, knowing how parts are supposed to fit, like new parts going in. I would say that's the intermediate level, where you know how to change a barrel, you know how to change a grip safety, you know how to change a thumb safety, you know how to replace a sear and get that properly profiled and angled with the main cut and the relief cut. On down the list, you get the idea. Like, in this, I would classify as sort of like a mechanic, somebody who kind of knows the structural, mechanical aspects of the gun, knows how it works, can work on them, get them working right, and get them out the door. Now, that's where I would classify myself, is on that tier 2. And then you have tier 3, which you could even break this up into sub-tiers. But, that's where you get into, like, careered professional gunsmiths. And this is where you get into really complex stuff. The Jason Burtons, the Luke Volkmans, Nighthawk Wilsons, all those. That's where I would say tier 3 is. Now, here's the problem. What happens is you have gatekeeping, where people, and it's usually the people who find themselves in tier 3, they start gatekeeping on voices. And what they do is they say, unless you're tier 3, you can't speak. Now, I also reject that wholeheartedly. That is elitism. Again, it's credentialism. And those people are arrogant. It doesn't matter, because look, here's the thing, guys. And this is just the way I view life. Knowledge makes your head bigger. And you have to temper your knowledge with humility and remember that you're still just a guy. You're still just a person, right? And other people are valuable. Everyone's not stupid. I mean, the kind of person that thinks they're the last one on earth who knows everything, that is the height of arrogance, to believe you're that person. And so it doesn't matter how much I know. I'm still just a guy. And other people are very smart. Very smart. Common people with no degrees, with no certificates, right? There's so many smart people out there. I know several of them who they've never gone to gunsmithing school. And I would happily hand them my pistol, have them work on it, and I would holster it up and trust my life with it. But I have a real problem with elitism and gatekeeping. Because look, this isn't some like kumbaya frou-frou message here about inclusivity. That's getting weird too. But I really do value other people. And I would never want to get to the place where it's like, you're not on my level, you can't speak. I think that's dark. I think that's evil. I think it's insecure. It's weak. It's pathetic. And so for me, it doesn't matter how much you know, on what level you are, you should speak. You're an American, right? You should take up that mantle of freedom that belongs to you if you're an American and speak. Those people gatekeeping, the credentialists, the elitists, screw them, right? I don't care about how much somebody knows. If they're a douchebag, I'm done with them. I'm done with them. What really matters at the end of life is how you treated other people, not how much you know. So the two big messages for this video are that I'm not an expert. Now, I will say it this way. I haven't arrived, but I've left. I consider myself a 1911 mechanic. Mid-tier. I'm no expert. I'll be honest about what I know. If I don't know, you guys can see it in the comments. I've said it thousands of times. If I don't know, I just say I don't know. Or that's not my thing, or I'm not really into that. I'll give you a good example. Tenon front sights. I suck at them. I hate them. There's like a mental disconnect for me. And I know somebody's going to be like, oh, they're easy. I do it all the time. I'm glad for you. I'm really glad. I suck at them. Okay? Now, what I am good at, man, barrel fitting, thumb safeties, getting that trigger feeling just right, getting the action smooth, right? I'm good at that stuff. And I can say that not out of arrogance, just confidence. I know my own competence level. But there's a lot I don't know. There's a lot that I suck at, okay? And I'll be honest about that. So that's the first thing. I'm no expert. Now, if I'm saying it here on YouTube, because look, I've been toying with making this YouTube channel to begin with for years. But the reason I've been waiting is I want to make sure that what I'm saying, I'm actually confident in, and that I can say with integrity. And so what I'm saying doesn't mean I'm always right, okay? I'm human, just like the rest of you. But I do my best in what I put out to make sure that what I'm saying has been tested, not just by me, but by people I trust, that it's repeatable, it's verifiable, and it's good. Doesn't mean all the experts are going to agree, okay? What I don't do is say, well, this big name says it. I don't care about that. Literally, in fact, I hate that. Again, that's credentialism, that's elitism. The idea has to stand on its own 2 feet. And then the second big point of the video, besides, answering the question, am I an expert? The second big point of the video is just kind of talking through how I view these 3 different levels of gunsmith, whatever. And then finally, I just think all of us should reject credentialism, should reject elitism. I despise the mentality that has an elite class and they're the only ones allowed to speak. I reject that. And look, there's going to be people, I know, because there are a lot of people who absolutely hate my guts that watch all my videos. I live in their head rent-free. It's really weird that it's like, I hate this guy so much, I'm going to go watch all his videos and comment on them, which, by the way, only helps me because I get your view and I get you driving traffic to my channel. So I don't know what people think they're accomplishing by doing that. I think maybe they think they're going to hurt my feelings and get me to go away. That's not going to happen. But there are going to be those people who they are going to want to name drop. They're going to want their certificates. They're going to want you, in the apron or wearing the vest. There's this image people have of what a gunsmith should look like. I'm not that. I think a good example of this, and I'm not at all equating myself to this man, so don't hear that. That's foolishness. But Paul Reed Smith in the guitar world, who makes those guitars over my shoulder. He tells this story about somebody coming into his shop when he first started out, and they're like, where's the guy with the gray beard, the pot belly, and the leather apron? In their mind, that's the luthier. And he's this like skinny guy with a big frizzy fro, looks like a hippie. That's the guitar builder, right? And so people that get stuck in that mentality where it's like, you got to look this way, you got to talk this way, you got to have your certificate, you got to say these things, my opinion needs to be in your mouth, you got to parrot all this, I reject all of it. I reject all of it. And none of you who hate my guts are going to shut me up. You can't. You're powerless. And I want to encourage the rest of you, they can't shut you up either. The only power elitist douchebags have over you is the power you give them. Don't give them the airtime. Don't give them the oxygen. Now, I'm not saying everyone who has a certificate and everyone who is that career guy is what I'm talking about. But the people who are humble and kind and intellectually honest, those are the ones I respect most. The ones who think that they get to shut everyone else up because of their experience, that's a bad person. And in me personally, I'm not telling you guys what to do. Me personally, I want nothing to do with that person. I don't respect that person. So that's the video. I wanted to just explain this because the channel's gotten big enough now where I get people, again, thinking, you get these 2 extremes of like people thinking I'm an expert. I'm not. And then you get people who like have this hatred for me because I'm not the leather apron, gray beard guy who has the certificate. And, you know, they hate my guts for it. It's an irrational, insecure, really strange. Actually, it's funny, to be honest. It's kind of a pathetic fear they have. But I'm neither of those things. I'm just a guy. I'm just like every one of you. I'm no more smart than anybody. And the only thing I proclaim on this channel is I know a good bit about 1911s and how to make them work. That's it. That's my only claim. You guys can fight over titles, certificates, all that. But on my channel, I welcome ideas. And I don't care if you have a certificate or not. I don't care if you've been working on 1911s for 6 months. A good idea is a good idea. And if the old guard, the gatekeepers, want to hate me for that, I feel sorry for you. I really do. I feel sorry that you're that miserable and insecure of a person. Because me personally, look, I'll tell you guys, I had a guy message me the other day. He's 10 years younger than me. He had a great idea, like an idea for a jig on how to work on a sear. I said, dude, that's mine now. Now, I'm not going to say it because if he goes and like patents it or something, I don't want to screw him. But, you know, I don't care what he looks like. I don't care what certificate he does or doesn't have. It was a good idea. Who am I? And I also want to say this. Look, the channel has gotten big enough. And look, it's only like 8,000 people. It's not big. I'm saying it's gotten big enough to the point where now people are making response videos to what I say. And they're disagreeing. And people send me those videos like, oh, did you see what they said? Look, there's one thing that I shook hands with a long time ago on YouTube, before I signed up for YouTube, and that is people are going to take what you said out of context, and people are going to be cowards. And what I mean by that is, look, if somebody with another YouTube channel sent me an email and said, hey, I think you missed it on this point, I'd be like, okay, let's talk. I'm wrong all the time. So are the rest of you, in fact. That's what makes humanity. Humanity is we're not perfect, right? And I would own that. If I made a mistake and somebody gave me a respectful, well-reasoned argument and it was backed up, I'd be like, oh man, you're absolutely right. Thank you. And that's really how I feel. I'm happy to be wrong. But when people make videos criticizing what I've said without ever going to me, I'm not making a response video to them. Like, who cares, man? Like, I think it's childish to get in this internet back and forth. I think it's childish for people to not come to me directly, and I think it would be childish for me to make a video trying to correct everybody. Look, I mean, there's two videos in particular, and again, I haven't watched them. I'm just not interested, but people describe them to me, where people are basically saying they think I'm wrong about a thing. And it's like the way it was described to me, they didn't listen to what I said. They took me out of context, and look, I can't run around correcting everybody about what I said. I signed up to put videos on the internet. That the nature of it is I'm going to be taken out of context. There's nothing I can do about that. And I don't care, right? Like, why would I care about someone who's intellectually lazy? Why would I care about trying to go and correct that person? They've already shown me that they don't think well. So who cares? Who cares? And look, another thing, here's something else I've shaken hands with. There are going to be people who make effective attacks on me. They're going to work. And what do I mean by that? They're going to work. There's going to be people who are subscribed to my channel now who will watch them and stop following me because of what somebody else said. Who cares? Who cares? I can't control that. Like, you know, guys, I'm going to live longer because I think this way. People get really twisted up and angry and stressed out over this stuff. I can't control any of that. I can control me. Okay? So that's the other thing. And again, I know of like 4 or 5 other channels because they've been sent to me with people basically criticizing what I said. That's okay. They're free. They're an American. They can say whatever they want. I would respect them more if they came to me. And because, look, I think it's way too easy to make enemies in this world. Way too easy. It takes a little bit of work to make a friend. And if those people came to me and said, hey, I disagree with you, I'll bet you if we would jump on a live stream, no notes, we don't have to talk, like, they don't have to give me questions in advance. I would do it live, do it raw. If we jumped on a live stream and just talked, I'll bet we would end up agreeing on most things and even becoming friends. And now, and that, I welcome that. If somebody wants to do that, yeah, welcome me on. Now, of course, there's also the possibility that it's gonna be an ambush. And look, I'm gonna take the wind out of their sails. They're gonna try to, people are gonna try to paint you as a moron and whatever. Okay, yeah, I'm a moron. Yep, all of it's true. You win. You're the best. Your daddy really did love you. Yeah, that's my note about that. People keep messaging me about these other channels saying things. They can say whatever they want. Okay? If they want to come and talk to me, I'm happy to talk to them. Otherwise, they're just people on the internet saying things just like me. So anyway, that's the video. And appreciate you guys getting the channel to where it has. We're about to pop 8,000, which is awesome. It's really crazy. And, I'm just grateful for all of you for getting us here. So appreciate you guys watching. Hope that makes sense, everything I said. And look, at the end of the day, even if you disagree with what I said, I'm still glad you're here. We can still be friends. You can still watch. We can think differently without having to feel like we've got to club each other to death. And if that's something you can't abide, then there's a big fat red X at the top right of your screen. I would welcome you to push it. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one.